Hello, and thank you for joining us on today's live coverage of plenary from the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm Lami Ali. Well, today, like other days, there are quite a number of items on the other paper, but expectedly, what the lawmakers are going to be doing today is the screening exercise for the newly appointed Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs. That's the Naval, Air Force, and Army Chief. Right now, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Jibrin, is presiding over plenary, and they are about to consider the report of the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt. The chairman of the committee, Senator Magatakada Wamako, has just laid a report for consideration of plenary on the recent loan request from the federal government. So let's get into the chamber.
You can go ahead, yes.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, this report on the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt, what I referred from this Senate some 2 weeks ago, but because of some happenings, including the Constitutional Review Committee meeting in Lagos, it could not be submitted earlier than today. Mr. President, the committee had met and considered the request of Mr. President on this matter, and the recommendations by this committee are covered on, with observations were on page 4, and recommendations are, Mr. President, on page 6 of this report as submitted. And after a due deliberation, Mr. President, the committee came to the conclusion that this request be approved. The committee report proposed a program refinance essential due to 1, bridge the financing gap in 2020-25 budget. 2, prevent Eurobond default and preserve Nigeria's market credibility. 3, diversify funding sources through ethical finance instruments. And 4, support critical infrastructure projects that drive inclusive economic growth. Accordingly, the committee urges the Senate to approve the request of Mr. President as submitted. In conclusion, Mr. President, we want to appreciate the Senate. So gratitude to the President of the Senate and the leadership of the Senate for the competence report on this committee. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you.
The Chief Whip.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished senators, this borrowing is within the public debt to GDP ratio, which is estimated at 39% and therefore remains within the international threshold of 55% to 60%. And Because of that, since we are within that international threshold of 55 to 60%, and our public debt to GDP ratio still remains at 39%, it's still sustainable. And I urge my colleagues to support this motion.
Thank you very much. And I call on the Chairman, Senate Committee on Finance to bear his mind. I'll give him 1 minute. Then, of course, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, the famous Baba Adini of Ikorodu.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East. Thank you, sir. I think the committee have done. We must wait to welcome Mr. President.
Yes, distinguished Senator Sani Musa, continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I will extend my greetings to Mr. President before my comment.
Not your greetings, report yourself.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District, and I stand to commend the committee, which I also belong to, for doing a wonderful job. Because already all the requests from Mr. President have already been captured in the medium-term expenditure framework for the 2026 to 2029, or 2027, sorry. So it's very needful that we give approval to this request so that the 2025 Appropriation Act will be given the funding necessary. And I believe there is no much to talk about in this, because already in the fiscal policy is already captured. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other comments? I'm the next person. Oh, Baba Adini.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Adetokunbo Abiru, and I represent Lagos East Senatorial District. Mr. President, can I just continue? Well, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I also would like to lend my support to this request because this request, just like it has been presented, is more of a compliance issue because the 2025 Appropriation Act had already made provisions for deficit financing, which we had already approved. So the first two requests are more like a compliance issue in the sense that, one, the first one is to issue a resolution so that the borrowing component of the deficit already approved can also be made effective. While the second request, like the chairman mentioned, is a refinancing. So while the second request is, can I continue? Yes. So like I said, the first request is Mr. President. So the first request is actually nothing new, but a compliance request to issue a resolution to back the deficit that we had approved, which a portion of it is about to be contracted now. And of course, it is also to part finance the 2025 budget. While the second request of the Eurobond refinancing is also to ensure that the country does not default on the Euro bond that is due in November 21, 2025. And the last request, which is the Sukuk, is also to make, to create a more interesting basket for the Sukuk that has always been successful in financing most of our infrastructural projects. So the only thing I would like to add is that just like it has been mentioned in Note 5C, I will also want to support that the three committees, that's the Committee on Loans and Foreign Debt, and of course Finance, should also exercise their oversight in ensuring that the compliance and the execution of all of these loans are adhered to. Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. So I still support as well. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Issa Jibrin.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibrin, representing the very good people of Kogi East. Mr. President, I want to commend the federal government, especially in the area of this issue of refinancing. I have discussed several times with the Honorable Minister for Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy that when a loan is increasingly becoming difficult to service, you try and refinance it. Refinancing is allowed so as to give you opportunity to spread the existing loan over a longer period and possibly at a much lower rate. So I want to commend the government for the issue of the refinancing. Refinancing is very key. Then generally talking about borrowing. Borrowing, some people I understand feel that Nigeria is over-borrowed. No, I don't believe so. The Nigeria revenue profile is on the increase. And the implication of that is that the federal government can now leverage on the increasing revenue profile to borrow more money. As your revenue increases, you are encouraged to even borrow more because that gives you the opportunity to leverage on the revenue. Having said that, I believe that the proposal here is good, and I want to commend the federal government for this proposal. It is apt, and it will go a long way to addressing some of the key infrastructural problems in Nigeria. I thank you.
Osho Baba.
Mr. President, sir, I rise to lend my support and commend the chairman and members of the Foreign and Local Debt Committee for a job well done. I have also listened very attentively to our distinguished colleagues who are in the financial sector and who are very much at home with these issues. The only thing I want to add, Mr. President, is the fact that on the previous occasion, we did agree that there is nothing wrong about borrowing. What is important is what the money will be used for. This is not borrowing to pay salaries. This is borrowing to fund substantially some of our infrastructural projects. And given the current level of unemployment and the state of our public infrastructure, whether it is road and others, obviously, we have to borrow to fix them so that the country will be in a state to grow to a level that we can generate revenue to pay back. So I believe the committee has done a good job, and those who have spoken have further amplified the beauty of what, the benefit of what the federal government has asked us to do, and therefore I have no hesitation whatsoever in urging my distinguished colleagues to support this report and give it approval. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Senate is at the moment considering the report of the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt on the recent loan request from the federal government to fund key infrastructure projects and also refinance some outstanding loans. As explained by some lawmakers, this loan request is already captured in the 2026 to 2027 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. A glance through the reports of the committee, particularly the concluding part of the report, the committee itemized what the federal government needed the loan for. And these are to bridge the financing gap in the 2025 budget, to prevent Eurobond defaults and preserve Nigeria's market credibility. The loan will also help diversify funding, sources through ethical finance instruments, and also support critical infrastructural projects that drive inclusive economic growth. So the Senate is considering the report, and we are awaiting the decision of the Red Chamber on the report of the committee. Part of items listed on the other paper for today is the confirmation screening of appointees of President Bola Tinubu, and these are the Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs. It's listed on the other paper as part of items for consideration today, and we have cited the appointees in the National Assembly as they await being invited into the Red Chamber for the screening exercise preparatory to the confirmation. Plenary is in session, and the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, is presiding as we await conclusion of the consideration of the report from the Committee on Local and foreign debt on the request from President Tinubu for the approval of external borrowing plan. The approval of the loan will enable the federal government to implement the new external borrowing plan, which amounts to 1.2 billion US dollars as provided in the 2025 Appropriation Act, and it would be used to part finance the deficit in the 2025 budget.
From several senators, we now go to the recommendations. Number one, implement the new external borrowing of $1,843,669,000,000. Point of order. What order? What order, Senator Sani Musa?
Morning.
Naira 16 kobo only, which is equivalent to $1 billion 229,113,000 USD only, at the budget exchange rate of $1 to 1,500 naira in the 2025 Appropriation Act for the part financing of the budget deficit. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. This recommendation is hereby adopted and agreed upon. Number two, refinance USD. Okay. Order. What order?
Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. The point of order I want to invoke is Order 5510. Just to refresh the memory of distinguished senators about the observance of our orders, not in breach, but in compliance. And subject to the indulgence of the President of the Senate, I will read the order, just to refresh the memory of distinguished senators, human memory being momentary. And the order reads, is Order 5510. 10 reads, during a sitting, all senators shall be silent or shall confer only in undertones. So in order not to distract the proceedings of the Senate, I urge my colleagues to observe these rules so that we will have a very seamless proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Whip, for drawing the attention of the Senate to this very important order. Please let's keep quiet and let's keep silence and do what is expected of us as the number one or the highest lawmaking body in this country. We need to exercise decorum, remain silent while we observe our proceedings. Your point of order is hereby upheld. Recommendation number 2. Refinance the USD 1,180,350,000 euro bonds, 7.625% USD 11 million BN November 2025, maturing on November 21st, 2025. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Assess. Okay.
You were looking at number 3, right? Assess aggregate external capital of USD.
Yes, sir.
Point of order?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Mr. President, in view of the fact that we have screening of the service chiefs, I want to move that we should suspend the consideration of the order that we are considering now for a future date, and then commence the consideration of the services. So we should step down this report to a future legislative day and then start the screening of the service chiefs.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will rise. My name is Ositangu. I represent Enugu West. I stand to second the motion that we stand down further consideration of the report so that for another legislative day and move straight to the screening of the service chiefs.
Distinguished colleagues.
And so, second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that we suspend partial consideration of this committee on local and foreign debts and then go into the business of security immediately because the nation needs this security. Those in support that we suspend this and proceed straight into clearance of the service, you say aye. Those again say nay. The ayes have it. So the further consideration of this report is hereby stepped down. Leader of the Senate, you may wish to proceed by looking at our section 78 and others. Let us allow strangers to approach the chambers.
We should step in. The House of Rep are not passing it. They want to use it as a
So Senate has just stood down the report from the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts to enable it go into the screening exercise for the confirmation of the CDS and service chiefs. The report or consideration of the report will be continued on another legislative date, and a motion will soon be moved by the leader of the Senate to invite strangers into the chamber in line with the standing rules of the Senate. When that is done, the appointees will then be led into the Red Chamber by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters for the commencement of the screening exercise. As indicated on today's order paper, the appointees listed for screening are the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluede, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Waidi Shuaibu, the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Abbas, and the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Stephen Aneke. And as is the tradition, the Senate is going to move a motion to invite them into the chamber for the confirmation screening. We expect that each of the appointees would read out their profiles before the Senate, after which the lawmakers would ask some questions. That may be done in the open, but as is the practice, after the presentation of profile by the appointees with regards to the issue or the sensitive nature of security, the question and answer session is usually done in an executive session. So we await the invitation of the appointees into the chamber for the screening exercise in line with the provisions of the Constitution as requested by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The leadership of the Senate is holding consultations before the strangers are invited into the chamber for the confirmation screening. And 4 appointees are listed for the screening exercise expected to hold today, and will hopefully commence any moment from now as we await the invitation of the appointees into the Red Chamber. You're watching live proceedings at the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and today is historic as the Red Chamber will for the second time screen Chief of Defense Staff and service chief for the second time since the inauguration of the 10th Senate. Four of the appointees are already in the National Assembly, and they will be invited any moments into the Red Chamber. To lead them is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senate, Senator Bashir Lado. And the four appointees are the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluede, who was before now the Chief of Army Staff. The three others are the service chiefs, Major General Waid Shuaibu, who is the newly appointed Chief of Army Staff. There's also the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Idi Abbas. Last but not the least is the Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Stephen Neke, who will today be screened by members of the Nigerian Senate for confirmation in line with the provisions of the Constitution and as requested by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The leadership is still holding consultation with the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, presiding. Let's give you a brief on the four appointees that are expected in the chamber today for the screening exercise. First on the list is the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluede, who was born in 1968 in Ekiti State. He holds a degree in economics and has attended numerous leadership and strategic courses, including the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS. A glance at his military career shows that he was commissioned into the Nigerian Army in 1992. Before his appointment as the Chief of Defense Staff, he was before now the Chief of Army Staff. And a glance at his leadership philosophy shows that he has a passion to build a combat-ready, motivated, and well-coordinated force capable of addressing Nigeria's evolving security challenge.
Distinguished senators, please remain silent. We're about to usher in, we're about to have a motion move and seconded so that we can put the question as to allow how we can get the service chiefs to come in. But meanwhile, we'll give you some minutes to reflect and think of what your questions. We'll give you some minutes to prepare your questions before they come in. A few minutes.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to move for the suspension of Order 12 of our rules on floor privileges to enable us address the second order of the day, which is the screening and confirmation of the persons listed on the order paper for appointment as Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs for the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in accordance with Section 18(1) of the Armed Forces Act. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do resolve into the Committee of the Whole to conduct the confirmation hearing, just as I move also for the suspension of Order 12 on floor privileges to admit strangers into this hallowed chamber. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, Enugu West, I rise to second the motion. First, that we suspend Order 12, the floor privileges, and also further that the Senate do resolve the Committee of the Whole to enable us to proceed with other activities of the floor. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the leader and seconded by the minority leader say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Sergeant Ahab, you can usher them in.
The Senate has resolved into the Committee of the Whole for the purpose of the confirmation screening of the Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs. A motion has been moved and adopted to usher them into the Red Chamber for the screening exercise. Now the presiding officer is now the chairman of the session, as is the tradition. He's moved to a lower chair to chair the Committee of the Whole in the Red Chamber, and the mace has been lowered for the purpose of this exercise. The screening exercise of the Chief of Defense Staff and the Service Chiefs for the Armed Forces is being done in accordance with Section 18, subsection 1 of the Armed Forces Act, as provided in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and they are being ushered into the Red Chamber for the purpose of the screening after being nominated by President Bola Tinubu. And today we are about to witness the screening for the confirmation of the appointments. The Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs were appointed by the President on the 24th of October 2025. The request for the approval of the appointment was transmitted Tuesday as plenary, and the Senate decided to consider the request expeditiously to enable the appointees immediately start the work for which they have been appointed to carry out. We await their entrance into the Senate for the screening exercise. The Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs, will any moments now be ushered into the Red Chamber. That's Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluwede, the nominee for the position of the Chief of Defense Staff, and the 3 service chiefs. There's the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Waidi Shuaibu, the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral A.D. Abbas, and the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Stephen Aneke. A motion to invite them into the chamber has been moved and adopted, and the Deputy President of the Senate, Barrow Jibrin, is now chairing the session at the Committee of the Whole. The appointees are making their way into the Red Chamber for the confirmation screening, which is to commence now. The appointees have been ushered into the chamber with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly matters, leading them for the confirmation screening. Also on the entourage of the appointees are the Minister of Defense, Muhammad Badaru, and the Minister of State Defense, as well as the Permanent Secretary and some top officials of the armed forces establishments.
The House is hereby called to order. Order, please.
The appointees have been ushered into chamber. They are seated and are waiting to be called to present their profile before the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as they get screened for confirmation. Let me run through the appointees again. There's the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluede, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Waidi Shuaibu, the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, and the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Sunday Kelvin Aneke.
Order, please. Order, please. The chamber is ready for the proceedings, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, let me join you to welcome to the hallowed chambers of the Senate the nominees of Mr. President for a very crucial task of securing our nation and also giving us the right image in the international community. So let me welcome the chief, the nominee, and our immediate past chief of army staff, and all those accompanying him to the chambers. I have seen the special advisor to Mr. President on Senate matters, Mr. Senator Lado. I've seen the Honorable Minister of Defense, His Excellency, former Governor Badaro, now Minister of Defense. I've seen the Chief of Defense Intelligence and himself, Brigadier Malawite. Action. I have seen from Brigadier General Garuba, in no particular order, General Jibrin, Brigadier General Babalola, am I right? Commodore Ahmed, Navy Captain Yabo, Wing Commander Mia. It's the way it is given to me. It's not according to seniority, so please don't be angry. And then Commodore Bukaje. And then we have Air Vice Marshal Oremuzu. We have Air Vice Marshal Burkar. We have Air Vice Marshal Adekoya. We have okay, I had mentioned the Chief of Defense Intelligence earlier, so I'm happy to mention him again. And then some members of the families of the nominees. So we had to open the floor of the chambers to allow you in and other strangers of goodwill who may have accompanied you. We are expected by the Nigerian Constitution to screen you and see whether you are fit for the job given to you, and thereafter, if we are satisfied, we will proceed to confirm you and then communicate the confirmation to Mr. President for your oath taking. So I congratulate you on your nomination, and I welcome you on behalf of my colleagues to the 10th Senate. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I rise first to move, Mr. President, that this Senate, having first confirmed General Oluyede, who is standing before us today as Chief of Defense Staff nominee, having only recently screened and confirmed him as a service chief, in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that he be allowed today and deemed to be seen as being present here as a class captain, leading the team of the new service chief nominees, rather than him being screened all over. And that following that, Mr. President, at your discretion, invite distinguished colleagues to ask the first round of questions as you may wish, after which, Mr. President, I will be moving that we go into a closed-door session where issues that border on national security and the sensitivity that goes with it can be discussed at an interactive session with the service chief nominees. That will be my motion. And I so move, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.
Mr. President, with deep sense of responsibility, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Senate leader.
Thank you.
I so second.
Thank you. You did not repeat the motion, because I would have said that you are adding an addendum. The Senate earlier screened General Oluide for the office of Chief of Army Staff. But today he's here to be screened for the office of Chief of Defense, Chief of Defense Staff. Am I right? CDS. So he would have been angry if he entered without introducing himself and then using a few minutes to tell us his experience in the previous office, and also telling us what he intends to put forward in this very elevated and commanding position. He would have been angry, because I don't want him to leave here angry. My colleagues, with this slight amendment, I'll put the question. Those in support that General Oluide takes the floor to tell us his earlier experience as Chief of Army Staff and his perspective in the incoming position, say aye. Those again say nay. The ayes have it. General, the floor is yours. So, General,
yes, sir.
Welcome to the podium.
Thank you, Excellency.
You are talking to Nigerians now, and when you were appointed, there was a lot of jubilation as Chief of Army Staff, because you are not a general who sits in the office. You are the one that is right there in the theater of warfare. You've served the nation meritoriously, and everybody is happy with you. I don't think there's any part of Nigeria today that has a Boko Haram flag hoisted since you came into office. You have cowardly attacks here and there on soft targets, which you cannot control, but which you are doing your best with modern gadgets to minimize and nip in the bud. For those of us close to the president, we are aware that for every single infraction, you have nipped over 99 others that you never allowed to come. And you are a man of action. So we applaud you. We are very proud of you for the services. Now that the President has said he should further coordinate all the service chiefs. Just let us know your brief. Slide experience or experiences and the perspective on the way forward. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Godswill Obotukpabio, Grand Commander of the Order of Niger, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barao Ibrahim, Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, the principal officers of the Senate, very distinguished and well-respected senators, the special advisor to the President on Senate matters, distinguished Senator Bashir Lado, Commander of the Order of Niger, my own Minister, the Honorable Minister of Defense, His Excellency Mohammed Badar Abubakar, Your Excellency, by way of introduction, I'm Lieutenant General Olufemi Olatubosun Oluyede. I was born in the year 1968 in the Ikere local government area of Ekiti State. I was commissioned into the Nigerian Army in the year 1992 as an infantry officer on the rank of second lieutenant. I have attended several courses in the course of my career, which has brought me this far. And the last was the senior executive course at the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, Jos, Nigeria. And because of my career spanning over 30 years, I've had several appointments, cutting across command, staff, instructional, and operational deployments. I've also participated in several operations, amongst which are Economic Committee of West African States Monitoring Group, ECOMOG for short, in Liberia, Operation Harmony 4 in Bakassi, and Operation Lafia Dole, and later Operation Adikai in the northeastern part of Nigeria. I contributed significantly to the operations in the northeast, where I commanded 27th Task Force Brigade Buniyadi. And based on that, I was elevated to be the sector commander at Headquarters Sector 2, Operation Adinkai, where I commanded several successful operations that neutralized key Boko Haram members and several foot soldiers. I was also the General Officer commanding 6th Division of the Nigerian Army, where I commanded units and formations in 4 different states of Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Rivers, and Delta State. I was also the commander of the Infantry Corps, which meant that I commanded 60% of the army before I was appointed as the acting chief of army staff on 30th October 2024, owing to the demise of the past chief of army staff, late Lieutenant General Lagbaja, by His Excellency, the President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I was thereafter confirmed by this National Assembly as the 24th Chief of Army Staff on 3rd December 2024. recognition of my contributions over time, I have been conferred with several military honors and medals, which include Grand Service Star and the Nigerian Army Medal, which is meant only for Chief of Army Staff. I also earned Training Support Medal, Field Command Medal, and Field Command Medal of Honor. I also earned the General Officer's Medal and a Commonwealth Medal. I'm also a proud recipient of the Chief of Army Staff Award twice. I believe all these earned me the privilege of commanding the Nigerian Army as the 24th Chief of Army Staff. In all, I can tell this hallowed chamber that I have dutifully served Nigeria, and my devotion to duty in various theaters of operations within and outside Nigeria, I believe, foreshadowed my current nomination as the Chief of the Defense Staff. So I'm here this morning to present myself for screening and probably to share my experience as Chief of Army Staff. Well, I can tell this hallowed chamber that my experience as Chief of Army Staff was actually very challenging but rewarding. Challenging in the sense that being a service chief in Nigeria, it's something that requires courage, extreme dedication and commitment. And that means you have to submit yourself totally to not sleeping, to not having any time of yours, and doing everything under duress to make Nigeria safer. Now, what are the challenges here? We all know that the resources are not enough. The enablers are not enough. So it makes it very difficult to get everything required to prosecute the war against terrorism, banditry, and other sundry crimes in Nigeria. Well, I believe with this hallowed chamber having to support me, things can be better. And it's important for us to know that for Nigeria to move forward, it's imperative that we develop our own local military-industrial complex, because we can't keep on buying equipment from outside, because these things are extremely expensive. So it's incumbent on the country to develop its own capacity to produce the required equipment to prosecute wars and checkmate challenges facing all of us. And apart from this, we all know that we are dealing with every kind of warfare these days, which includes cyber crimes, cyber warfare, cyber attacks, and all in that light. And it's important for us as a country to checkmate the kind of misinformation that's out there. Because if this is not checkmated and on time, I think our challenges will be far from over. Then, as Chief of Army Staff, I made it a point of duty to improve the welfare and well-being of my soldiers and their families. But again, despite that aspiration, it became difficult to achieve in total because of lack of resources. It's Very easy for people to say that soldiers just, I mean, being a soldier is just like any other job. But I want to tell this Alo chamber with all due respect that there's something special in being a soldier. Because as a soldier, what it entails is that you have sacrificed your entire life for others to live. And for you to be a soldier, there's some element of madness. What do I mean by this? For a right-thinking fellow, when there's danger, you are expected to retreat. But for a soldier, you are expected to go forward and face that challenge. So a soldier is just not an ordinary person. So it's important for us to look at soldiers the way they are looked at in other climes, giving their due respect, provided for, and maybe things will be better for us. Then added to this is the need for us to improve maybe probably restructure the police force, because most of the job that is being done by the army as we speak actually lies within the purview of the police. So it's important for the nation to empower the police, make it stronger, make it more formidable, so that they can do their job while we concentrate on defending Nigeria against external aggression. So when you aggregate all these points that I made, then I can tell you that my tenure as Chief of Army Staff has been quite challenging. But I can tell you that within the ambit of what we have and the resources made available to us, we're able to face some of the challenges. And I believe that things have improved tremendously, but we can do better. But in doing better, it requires a whole society approach. Everybody must be involved. I don't think it should be left only to the military to prosecute and face all these challenges. It's not going to work. It's important for all hands to be on deck to make Nigeria safer. That's my humble submission this afternoon. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant General Oluide. Nigerians already know you, but with a few explanations, they now know you better. And because you are like the student leaders pointed out, now that you are like the class prefect. By the way, I used to be a senior prefect in my college, in my days in secondary school. So I had other prefects under me. So today you are like the class prefect. You are like me when I was senior prefect. So, and we have earlier cleared you, and we have no doubt as to your capacity to deliver. Is it the view of the Senate that he be allowed to take a bow and watch as others speak to us? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you so much, General.
The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluwede, has just concluded presenting his profile before the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the ongoing confirmation screening exercise. The chairman of the Committee of the Whole and Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, would move the motion for him to take a bow, which he did. He shared his experiences as the immediate past Chief of Army Staff. He talked about the challenge of insecurity in Nigeria and what he did while serving as the Chief of Army Staff. He gave a background of being born in Ikere, Ekiti State, gave a brief on his education background, and also information on his military career. He was commissioned into the Nigerian Army in 1992, and he is married with children.
Shuaibu, Chief of Army Staff. We have Rear Admiral I. Abbas, nominee for Chief of Naval Staff. We have with us Air Vice Marshal S.K. Aneke, nominee for Chief of Air Staff. Now, each of them will take the podium. I will only ask one person or so per zone to ask them question in the open. Then we'll go into closed session because security is a serious business. And then everybody will have the right to ask any question. Because some of the answers they will give are not necessarily answers for television. So we can discuss and come out and also guide based on inputs from our constituents. But in the open, you can ask just a question that is not too deep, so they don't have to mention names of bandits here. But when they are together with us in the closed session, you can go ahead with the various questions that will enable them to speak freely. But in the meantime, may I invite the May I invite the nominee for the office of Chief of Army Staff, Major General W. Shuaibu, to please take the podium. General Shuaibu, even from your dress, you look very well decorated. But you just give us a brief resume of yourself so Nigerians will know you, and then you answer maybe one question or two, then you sit down. for a close interaction later. The floor is yours.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Goswin Obot Akpabio, Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Badar Ibrahim Jibril, Commander of the Federal Republic, Principal Staff Officers of the Senate, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Special Advisor to the President on Senate Matters, Senator Bashir Lado, the Honorable Minister of Defense, Honorable Badaru Abubakar. I say good morning to all our members in this hollow chamber. I am Major General Waidi Shaibu. I was born on 18 December 1971 and hails from Olama Bora local government area of Kogi State. I gained admission after completing my secondary school to the Nigerian Defense Academy as a member of 41 regular course and was granted a regular combatant commission on 17 September 1994. I was posted to the Nigerian Army Armored Corps throughout my military career. I've attended several professional courses and academic courses, both home and abroad. Some of these include the Battalion Commander's Course and the Armor School, while the last and most significant is the Counterterrorism Fellows Warfare Program at the National Defense University in Washington, D.C. I hold a Bachelor of Engineering degree in Mechanical Engineering, a Master's degree in Public Administration, a Master's degree in Strategic Studies, and a Master's of Arts in Strategic Studies from Washington, D.C. I also hold a Diploma in International Security and Combating Terrorism from the National Defense University in Washington, D.C. I also participated in various seminars and conferences throughout my career, bordering on hybrid forces, counterterrorism, and gray zone operations. I have been promoted to my ranks as and when due, being promoted to the rank of Major General on 10 December 2021. I have held various appointments cutting across my formations, both staff, instructions, and command appointments. I was the Chief of Staff to the Chief of Defense Staff of the Armed Forces of Liberia. I was Chief Instructor at the Nigerian Army Armored School in Bauchi. Thereafter, for my command appointments, I was the commanding officer of 245 Battalion in Munguno in the Northeast, Brigade Commander, 21 Special Armored Brigade in Bama in the Northeast. Thereafter, General Officer Commanding 7th Division and Commander Sector 1, Operation Hadinkai in the Northeast, before becoming the Theater Commander, Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai, equally in the Northeast. Currently, I'm holding the appointment of the Director of Armor Research before being appointed as the current Chief of Army Staff. Throughout my career, I've made it a duty to train as a chief instructor in the Nigerian Army Armor School, to train and mentor junior officers in the art of armor doctrine, as well as when I was the directing staff at the National Defense College, Abuja here. I was part of the team that introduced to the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Defense College, the concept of strategic estimate, which culminated in the publishing of the college medium strategic thinking and planning. I've also mentored participants, both international students as well as own students throughout. For my staff appointment, I was privileged to have trained officers in the Armed Forces Simulation Center, and also was instrumental in contributing my own quota to critical bilateral agreements of memorandum of understanding between Nigeria and the Kingdom of Jordan, as well as various ECOWAS initiatives. I was part of the fact-finding mission to Guinea-Bissau, as well as the commander of forces in that general area. All my operational experience, all my command experience have been in the Northeast, Nigeria encountering terrorism, indeed. From my early days as a young officer, I've been involved in operations that cut across the length and breadth of this country. As a young platoon commander in 242 Reki Battalion, I was deployed in the defense operations in Umfum border in Operation Hamud Itre. During that operations, we have led troops to counter the incursions from the Republic of Cameroon. I was also the commanding officer of 243 Reki Battalion in Mungunu, in the Northeast, where we defeated the Boko Haram insurgents in 2015 when the insurgents were trying to renew their offensives. In that operations, I was wounded in battle, and I was granted the Purple Heart medals for officers that have wounded in battle. As brigade commander in 21 Special Armor Brigade, I was instrumental in restoring safety to that general area that culminated in the neutralization of 442 insurgents and the recovery of various assorted arms and ammunition. As General Officer Commanding, I will introduce the various pillars for the defense of that general area in my sector area of responsibilities, with significant humanitarian gains, including the rescue of 11 Chibok girls that have been in captivity. A lot of terrorists surrendered during my tenure as General Officer Commanding 7th Division. As theater commander, we were instrumental in the neutralization of 567 Boko Haram terrorists and the recovery of assorted arms and ammunition. To improve the integrity of our defenses in general areas, we leverage technology to improve various long-range surveillance cameras to give our troops foreknowledge of enemy infiltrations. We also introduced decapitation operations that led to the neutralization of key terrorist leaders. I have been privileged to have various honors and awards ranging from the Meritorious Service Star, the Grand Service Star. We are culminated with the Field Command Medal of Honor, and the Nigerian Army Outstanding Operation Medals for the Nigerian Army, and the Defense Operations Medals. For the past 5 years, I have been deeply involved in deep-rooted operations to rid our country from various terrorists that have been disturbing in the Northeast. I believe that with my wealth of experience that I bring to the table, I will consolidate on my predecessors' achievements to create a very secure environment for socio-economic activities to thrive across our nations. Thank you, sir.
You will take my one or two questions. Distinguished Senator Mongono, he has met various allusions to his experience in the Northeast as a son of Borno State, most affected. Would you like to, not necessarily ask the question, would you like to suggest something to him as he goes into this new office?
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished Senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished Senators, the officer is very well known to me because he has served as the commanding officer of 243 Battalion Monguno when Boko Haram took over Monguno. As rightly observed by him, even my house was taken over by the Boko Haram insurgent, and they were instrumental to repelling or removing Boko Haram from Monguno and reclaiming back the territorial integrity of Nigeria. I can attest to that. My father also crossed with him when he's serving variously as GOC 7 Division, Sector 1 Commander Operation Hadinkai, Theater Commander Joint Task Force, all in Borno State and the Northeast in general. So his appointment is a square peg in square hole, having traversed the nooks and crannies of not only the theater of operation in the Northeast, but in the whole country. So my question to him is, what immediate action do you intend to take in addressing acts of terrorism, insurgency, and banditry bedeviling the country, having regard to your experience in the various theater of war? Thank you.
Just before you answer, let me call somebody from the Northwest, where bandits have also ravaged the area. He has asked questions in relation to Boko Haram. Let somebody also ask in relation to terrorism and banditry. Distinguished Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I remain Muhammad Adamu Alero, representing Kebbi Central. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the nominee is a professional soldier to the core. He has attended various courses that has made him qualified to be appointed as Chief of Army Staff. He has been to all the theaters of war. My only question to him, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is that how do you intend to actively address issues of troops' welfare in the army so as to galvanize their will to fight in various theaters of war? And lastly, Mr. President, the northwest part of the country is facing very serious security challenges. In particular, we have the bandits and also the Lakurawa that came from Mali. They move freely and brazenly with their AK-47 rifle. They even mixed with the communities. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Nigerians will be interested to hear from the Chief of Army Staff, designate, how he intends to solve this issue of Lacunawa challenge. Thank you.
Yes. Chief, let me just add just one more question so that you can answer the three at once. You know, if you notice what the Chief of Defense Staff designate said, bearing in mind the financial constraints and the logistics constraints. So we are now, the questions that are being asked will be that all things being equal, assuming this, the two senators, Dan Kwambo, you can add just a question so that he can answer.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Senator Ibrahim Dankombo. I represent Gombe North. Your Excellency, like you have rightly noted, this officer, well-trained, well-fitted, you see him, typical how a soldier should be looking like in Nigeria. Is somebody too I have privilege of having interacted with as a former governor of Gombe State. And him and his team have worked very hard, because one thing is terrorism or Boko Haram or anything, and the other people is the radicalization of those kind of people. So working with them and their team, we set up an institute in Gombe, in Malan City, which de-radicalize this kind of elements. And they go through proper training, proper scrutiny and the rest. And eventually, most of them are de-radicalized. But at the end of the day, the problem is how to take them back to the various communities from where they were coming from. So my question now is, as the new Chief of Army Staff, we have made an effort working with them as a team to make sure that when they are de-radicalized and taught certain kind of profession, that they require a kind of paper or identity, diploma's degree, to push it forward so that they can properly fit into the community where they are coming in. So how does he intend to assist those kind of elements fit in properly by making sure that that institute, either as an army institute or as an independent agency, is made to achieve that objective? Thank you, Excellency.
Distinguished colleagues, no need to ask too many questions because we are going to have interactive session with them. So this one is that he has just introduced himself and he needs to answer a few questions because Nigerians are watching. And the rest of the very deep questions that I know you have, we will have them in the executive session with them. The day is for them. In the US Congress, sometimes they take 2 days to interview and screen a nominee. So this one we are prepared to take till Sunday to be able to get answers to our security situation. So the whole day is for them. But the Senior Senator Issa Jibrin, did you say that he's your neighbor in Kogi State? Say something. Yes. Go ahead. Let me hear you.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, seated at the chair, very distinguished colleagues, invited guests. I am Issa Jibrin, representing the very good people of Kogi East. Your Excellency, I rise to first of all thank the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria for appointing General W. Shuaibu as the Chief of Army Staff. The officer is very well known to me. I've known him for over 30 years. He is from a very humble background. He has taken this job as a do-or-die affair in the course of his career. He has been able to attend various professional courses. He has held key positions in the Nigerian Army preparatory to this milestone achievement. I want to believe that is an asset and that given this elevated position, he'll be able to do a lot to take Nigeria out of the security challenges that we are facing today. I only want to urge him to work harmoniously with the Chief of Defense Staff and the other serving chiefs to ensure that the lingering problems of security challenges in Nigeria is addressed once and for all. As for his competence, I can vouch for him anytime, any day, having known him for over 30 years and being the senator representing his senatorial district. On that note, I want to thank you very much for giving me listening attention. Thank you.
So that one was like a testimonial or an attestation. So that is enough for the open session. Distinguished nominee for the office of Chief of Army Staff, you've heard it all. Attempt to proceed answers.
Thank you very much, sir. I will take the questions as they come, starting with that of Honorable Senator Mohammed Munguno, with borders on terrorism and insurgency. Before moving to take that of Honorable Mohammed Aleo, that borders on welfare of troops and the Lakaroala challenge, before ending, my apologies, distinguished senators. So I start with that of terrorism and insurgency. The various adversarial threats that crowd across the northwest and the northeast flanks of our operations actually require multifaceted approach across all domains of operations. I leverage to consolidate on my predecessors' methods. I've been with him throughout our career, especially in the northeast region. For terrorism and insurgency, we intend to leverage on technology to improve our night fighting capability, effective training of special forces, to improve our insurrection and strike capabilities across all terrains, both day and night. And we tend to dominate all terrains, ranging from mountain ranges, muddy terrains, and all land terrains in across our countries, with effectively training additional special forces and special operation forces that we can insert for strike ability. As the distinguished senator knows, most of the attacks in the northeast have been within the wee hours of the morning, between midnight and 03 in the 300 hours in the morning. So we are going to improve our night fighting capability to counter those threats. We will leverage on intelligence to give us the requisite intelligence to deal with this issue, emphasizing synergy with all security agencies to the extent that we have effective multi-domain and multi-agency operations to tackle that threat. And I believe this will go a long way to stem those tides. For troops welfare, the fighting power, the components of fighting power, the moral component is an important aspect, and welfare of troops is a cardinal point in that issue. I intend to improve troops welfare generally to enhance the living and working condition of our troops, encouraging financial support and assuring quality access to both health care and education. So those initiatives to improve troops welfare will be holistic, that revolves around both housing and infrastructure, financial support, increase in allowances, and ensuring timely payment of their due benefits, and improve health care for all our troops, both wounded and personnel and their families. In the long term, we ensure that we enhance their career development and providing the requisite training to ensure that they embody the special skills of soldiering in all fronts. All this encompasses how we are going to focus on improving troops' welfare. The Lakurawa challenge and the banditry in the Northwest, luckily, I have been in that theater of operations to conduct assessment visits within that frame. And I'm fully aware of the Lakurawa challenge. And I assure you that with our improved training and special forces insertions, we are going to deal with that challenge and bring that issue to a very close. Now to the distinguished senator, burden on the de-radicalization of people. Currently, we have Operation Safe Corridor operating in Gombe, whereby all the modalities have been in place to ensure effective de-radicalizations of those surrendered bandits. And what we provide for them are skill acquisition to make them viable as skilled members of the society. Now, reintegrating them into their various communities, that is not within our purview. Properly de-radicalize, you have to work with the various communities, the community leaders within that general area to see how they can reintegrate them into their various communities. So it requires a whole of society approach, and we'll be counting on the distinguished senator from that general area to help in convincing the people whereby these people have committed atrocities against to accept them as their brothers, one who bring them to their various communities. Now to the last question from the Senate President, bearing in mind with financial and logistic constraints, how will we proceed with what we do? This will border on effective management of resources to ensure that we get the best out of available resources. But security is not cheap, so we'll still be coming back to the holy chambers for improved remunerations to the armed forces so that we can, together, solve the problem of our nation in terms of security challenge. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is it the view of the Senate that until we go into a closed session, the executive session, that the nominee for office of Chief of Army Staff has discharged his resume creditably? Those in support that it should be allowed to take a bow and wait for the executive session, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may take a bow, and then we go for further interactions. Rear Admiral I. Abbas, nominee for Chief of Naval Staff, you may step forward. The podium is yours. Rear Admiral, a brief resume, any question that borders on tactical disclosures you reserve for a closed session. You may proceed.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Godswill Obot Apavio, Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger. Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Ibrahim Jibrin, Commander of the Federal Republic, Principal Staff Officers of the Senate, distinguished senators, the Special Advisor to the President on Senate Matters, Senator Bashir Lado, Commander of the Order of the Niger, Honorable Minister of Defense, His Excellency Badaru Abubakar. Good afternoon. I am Rear Admiral Ide Abbas, born on the 20th of September 1969 and hail from Kano State. I had my primary education at Gogora Primary School in Kano from 1974 to 1980. Thereafter, I proceeded to the Air Force Military School, JOS, from 1981 to 1986. I was enlisted into the Nigerian Defense Academy in September 1987 and passed out of the academy in 1993 and commissioned sub-lieutenant. I obtained a Bachelor's of Science degree in chemistry. In the course of my career, I have attended both mandatory courses and courses that enhanced my career. Notable among the courses I have attended the sub-technical course and the officer's long course specializing in above water warfare. So I'm an above water warfare specialist in the Nigerian Navy. I also attended my junior and staff courses at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, Nigeria. I was also at the National Defense College here in Abuja for my strategic course. In the course of my career, I have held various appointments cutting across staff, instructional, and command appointments. I have served in various Nigerian Navy ships as a young officer. I also held the appointment of gunnery officer of Nigerian Navy ship Ohue. I was also an instructor at the above water warfare school where I specialized. And after that, I had the privilege of going back to my alma mater as the commanding officer of Bomber Battalion, Nigerian Defense Academy, where I played a pivotal role in shaping the next generation of Nigerian military officers who coincidentally are holding the ranks of lieutenant colonels today, most of them. I was also at DOS, Operation Safe Haven, as a sector commander, doubling also as the contingent, Nigerian Navy contingent commander. Thereafter, I had the privilege of also holding another command appointment at NIMASA, that's the Maritime and Safety Agency, as the Maritime Guard Commander, and my work there was to assist NIMASA in the enforcement of their rules and regulations, particularly helping in the arrest of erring vessels. Also, thereafter, I was appointed the task group commander of a task force which was purposely put in place to combat the menace of piracy, which was becoming a serious issue, particularly around the Bonny axis of our waters. And within that, the period I commanded the task group, a lot of successes were recorded. I was also privileged to hold the appointment of a command admin officer at the headquarters Central Naval Command in Bayelsa. Thereafter, I was appointed as the commander of Nigerian Navy ship Victory in Calabar. As fate will have it, from Calabar, I was posted back to Enegua as the chief staff officer, headquarters Central Naval Command. After a stint of about a year, I was reappointed the 12th flag officer of the same Central Naval Command, covering Bayelsa, Delta, Imo, Kogi, and Anambra states. I was also privileged to serve as the director of operations at the naval headquarters, where I oversaw the planning and execution of naval operations in maritime domain, as well as internal security operations across Nigeria. I was also privileged to have served as the chief of safety and standards at the naval headquarters. From there, I was appointed the chief of defense civil military relations at the defense headquarters, from where I proceeded to Nigerian Army Heritage and Future Center as a senior research fellow. That is the current appointment I was holding before I was nominated as the Chief of the Naval Staff. Among my decorations, I hold the Forces Service Star, Distinguished Service Star, Grand Service Star, and lately the Defense General Service Medal. I am a member of some professional bodies, amongst which are the Nigeria Institute of Management, the Institute of Professional Security. So at my leisure, I enjoy playing hockey and driving. I am happily married and blessed with 2 sons.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, as Chief of Naval Staff, your activities have direct bearing on the economy of the nation, particularly when you view it from the standpoint of oil production, oil theft, vandalization of pipelines, and piracy and others. So you will permit me to call on 1 or 2 people to ask questions before we go into closed session. Distinguished Senator Abiru represents Lagos with a lot of water. And I think they are trying to build a second seaport. Is Senator Abiru? Okay. Senator Dafinone. Senator Dafinone, would you like to ask any question?
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Ide Dafinone, representing Delta Central. My question for the nominee for Chief of Naval Staff, against the background of his illustrious career, varied experience both nationally and internationally, is for him to tell this distinguished House his plans for the development of the Nigerian Navy, especially in relation to the emerging threats, and what support he intends to provide to the other security agencies. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, distinguished Senator Oshomole.
Mr. President, sir, thank you very much for this privilege. I believe going through the CV, and even before the CV, I believe the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria must have already satisfied himself that you have the formal training to enable you to do the job for which you have been nominated. And I think the nomination is the word, not appointment yet, because we have to confirm. But I find interesting some of the points made about de-radicalization. It doesn't matter whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, it's all armed forces. Given our experience in the past where some Boko Haram people who were captured, and to use the word of the chief of, I believe, Army staff, who talk about people who have committed heinous crime, be reintegrated. Not a few people wonder how you can describe, on the one hand, somebody, a heinous criminal who has killed and maimed children and women, that you can reintegrate him into the larger society. And many have argued that some of those people in the process take advantage to familiarize themselves with the new environment and go back to what they have been doing, which then defeat the entire effort that you have put in apprehending them in the first instance. So this whole concept of the radicalization is an issue for me. And Mr. President, you just took it from my lips, sir, that I think the Navy has a good role to play. From all that I've heard from people who know you, I understand you can fairly be described as a no-nonsense officer. And therefore, the Navy will be under your command in very good hands. I am clear about that. But what will you do to ensure that these leakages that we still experience in oil bunkering, our president has rightly asked this question, because there are a lot of mixture now between Navy and other non-state actors involved in protection of our oil wells. And then lastly, the issue of, recently we have proposal for setting up of a marine guide. And the House was divided whether we need to have another outfit specifically devoted to water security in addition to the Navy, or whether is it not better to re-equip the Navy and strengthen it so that we have the capacity to further reinforce what it's already doing to protect Nigerian waters across the country. Thank you, Mr. President, sir.
Distinguished Senator Wadada.
Mr. President, sitting at chair, distinguished colleagues, I remain Senator Ahmed Wadada Aliyu, Sarkin Yakin Kefi, Magajin Dengin Lafia, and I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District. While I congratulate the nominee and also to buttress what Senator Adams Oshomole said, the little I have known or heard about the nominee is that he is an effective officer. Mr. Nominee, the Navy is meant to take care of the waters, both territorial and inland. But the concentration over the years has been on the territorial waters. The inland waterways, because of the sophistication in crime today, I will want your administration to give attention to the inland waterways as well, so that the criminals in us, or amongst us, sorry, will not be able to use the inland. No, of course, the criminals amongst us. I have, Mr. President, sitting as chair, can you please protect me? I know what I am talking about. My colleagues.
Senator Wadada, I'll be surprised if you did not go the route you are going. Why they are murmuring is that the criminality in us. So, and they are saying, no, if you have criminality in you, we don't have. So what you need to do now?
It was slip of the tongue, and I quickly corrected it. The criminals amongst us. Amongst us, not amongst us here as a people. You are sitting.
Distinguished colleagues, those who have accepted his apology say aye. Those who have refused to accept his apology say nay. The ayes have it. Your apologies are accepted. Please just ask the question.
Thank you very much. From Benue to Lokoja, this area or areas constitute part of the inland waterways, and which is why, as a representative of one of these areas, I have been in communication with the Office of the Chief of Naval Staff on the need to establish a naval base in between Benue and Lokoja, which should fall in between, in Umasha or somewhere before the river Niger, in between Benue and river Niger. Mr. Nominee, I feel very strong about what I am saying, which is, of course, to add the needed and required value to the security structure and efforts being put in place by the armed forces. I so advise, also submit. Thank you.
Yes, distinguished Senator Olamileko.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Adeola Solomon Olamileko, representing Ogun West Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, let me also join my colleague in congratulating Mr. Nominee as the new incoming Chief of Naval Staff. Mr. Nominee, my question goes thus. What are the measures do you intend to put in place to curb the sea piracy and maritime crimes so as to improve security along the Nigerian waterways? Thank you.
Thank you. You may proceed some answers.
Sir, I will take the questions randomly. Some are related to each other. I will start with the last question asked by distinguished Senator Olamilekon, that what measures do I intend to put in place to curb criminalities in the maritime environment? What I will do is, already we have existing structures towards curbing maritime crimes. What we shall do is to look at what is currently existing, and what I intend to do is to further incorporate more of technology, that is the use of drones. We already have what we are doing. We are going on patrols. At times, some of these patrols don't really yield positive results because of the nature of some of the locations. Aside from that, resources are being wasted in fueling some of these boats to get to where these criminalities are happening but cannot proceed further. So what I intend to put in place to further enhance what we are doing now is the use of technology, and that is drone. That is what I intend to put in place. Then, sir, to distinguished Senator Wadada, sir, your question borders on giving attention to the inland waterways, and your concern is the window between Benue and Lokoja. And so I think the answer to this, we have a solution already. We have established a special operations command with headquarters in Benue State, Makurdi, sir. So this is going to be used to challenge that, sir. Thank you, sir. Then, sir, to distinguish Senator Oshomole's questions. There are 3 questions here. I will start with the last one, and that is the issue of Coast Guard, whether there is any need for it. Sir, categorically, I will say we don't need that, because the Nigerian Navy is already doing that with what we have. One of our roles is Coast Guard duties, which is what we are doing. Creating another agency to do that work, it would be a duplication of function. Rather, I would advise that even if it is half of the funds that are going to be used to establish the Coast Guard, it can be used to enhance the platform availability of the Nigerian Navy. So, sir, my take is we don't need to have any Coast Guard. We are already doing that job. Thank you, sir. Then leakages caused by oil theft and illegal bunkering. Sir, we are aware of this, and like I said, most of where these illegalities are happening are hard to reach areas. And I can say those are minimal thefts, but which, if accumulated, amount to a large volume. At least out at sea, we are able to block the usage of large oil tankers, which hitherto were usually anchored at high sea, and smaller vessels are used to fuel them with the stolen cargo. So we are looking at this also. The use of this same drone technology and other technologies will help us block this more. Then, sir, the first question, the issue of de-radicalization. I totally agree with the Chief of Army Staff nominee's opinion. De-radicalizing the repentant criminals is a good way forward, but what of the moral burden? These are people that have killed, have maimed, and been integrated back into the society, to my mind, may remind relatives and family members of those that they have maimed to think in another direction. Those are to my own opinion, the radicalization of repentant criminals will be looked into and tweaked. And if I may advise, before such is done, if families have been identified that have lost their members through those people, there is need to contact them, talk with them if they accept for those people to be granted that amnesty after the radicalization. Then to the first question by distinguished Senator Dafinone concerns what plans do I have for the Navy in view of the emerging challenges and with relation to other services. So we already have our total spectrum maritime strategy, which covers various areas of our operations. So we are looking at that, and one of the challenges even that we are faced with now is that of kidnapping, banditry, oil theft. So the total spectrum maritime strategy of the Nigerian Navy takes care of these various layers of challenges, and my belief is we cannot do it alone, and hence we have to work together. It is a whole of society approach, and particularly for us, the armed forces, we have to synergize, whether we like it or not. That is the only way out that we can get out of the problems our country is facing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, the nominee. Is it the view of the Senate that if you're allowed to take a bow and wait for the closed session, those in support say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. Well done. And proceed. Air Vice Marshal S.K. Aneke, nominee for Chief of Air Staff. You have the floor. Just give you a brief resume of yourself, and you answer one or two questions from our colleagues, and thereafter we'll go into closed session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Just a minute. Just be reminded that you are talking to Nigeria.
Yes, sir. Your Excellency, sir, the President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Godswill Obot Akpabio, Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger. Your Excellency, sir, Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Ibrahim, Commander of the Federal Republic. The Principal Officers of the Senate, distinguished senators, the Special Advisor to the President on Senate Matters, Senator Bashir Lado, Commander of the Order of the Niger, Honorable Minister of Defense, sir. Sir, permit me to skip through the protocol of appreciating Mr. President and acknowledging the great work this great institution has been doing for Nigeria. I will just go straight to my resume, sir. I am Air Vice Marshal Sunday Kelvin Aneki, born on the 20th February 1972 in Makurdi, Benue State. I am from Umuaga in Udi, local government of Enugu State, and I was commissioned into the Nigerian Air Force on the 10th of September 1993 as a member of 40th Regular Combatant Course of the premier and great institution of the Nigerian Defense Academy. My early education started with the Army Children's School, NTA, Kaduna. I attended Government College, Kaduna. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in physics from the Nigerian Defense Academy, a certificate in aeromechanical engineering from Technical Training Group, which is now the Air Force Institute of Technology, postgraduate diploma in management from the University of Calabar. I have 3 masters, one in international affairs and diplomacy from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, another one from political economy and developmental studies from the University of Abuja, and masters in strategic studies from the United States Air Force Air War College, Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. I also possess a professional certificate in aviation safety management from Embry-Riddle University, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Florida, USA. I am currently pursuing a Doctor of Philosophy to reflect my enduring commitment to knowledge, research, and strategic thought. Over the past 3 decades, I have been privileged to serve in various command, instructional, and staff capacities. These have broadened my perspective and strengthened my leadership experience. Some of these appointments include admin officers in some units like the Aircraft Maintenance Depot and 301 Flying Training School in Kaduna. I was also the commanding officer, Base Services Wing at the Maritime Group in Benin. I was the Wing Chief Operations and also Wing Chief Admin and the Fleet Training Officer in the Presidential Air Fleet, Abuja. Some of my senior appointments include Director of Policy, Nigerian Air Force Headquarters, the Director of Safety in the same headquarters, Deputy Director of Operations, Nigerian Air Force Headquarters. I was the commanding officer, also the Command Evaluation Officer in both Tactical Air Command and Air Training Command. I was also the Chief of Staff at the Air Training Command. I was the Deputy Commandant, Nigerian Defense Academy, where I contributed to bringing out the best set of officers this country will ever find. And most recently, I was the Air Officer Commanding Mobility Command, Yenagua, where I oversaw enhanced mobility, joint operations, and strategic response and coordination. As a career pilot with over 4,300 flying hours, I am type-rated on the AB218 extended version, the Donia 228, Citation 500, Gulfstream 5, Gulfstream 550, and the Hawker 4000. I also have the advanced training pilot license, which is what culminates in a pilot's career. My operational experience spans both domestic, international theaters, from Operation Restore Hope as a young pilot in the Niger Delta to United Nations peacekeeping operations in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where I served as the Chief of Operations, Kindu Region. I have the following medals: GSS, DSS, GSM, FCM, and the rest of others. These experiences have collectively shaped my understanding of air power employment, interagency cooperation, and the indispensable role of oversight and accountability in achieving national defense objectives. I am happily married to my beautiful wife, Ms. Ngozi Aneke, and I have 3 sons, Chukwuebuka Kelvin, Ifeanyi Chukwu Brian, and Uche Chukwu Jason.
Distinguished Senator Kawu Sumaila, resume your seat. Distinguished Senator Kawu Sumaila, resume.
I will please see.
And lastly, my hobbies include flying, basketball, and listening to music. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I noticed that the number of people from the southeast who want to talk are far more than senators from other areas. But let us start from the ancestors, the landlords of the Senate. Distinguished Senator Abaribe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting as chair, I am in Abaribe, and I represent Abia South. Mr. Nominee, from the CV that you have given us, very impressive. And we also know that Nigerians are very happy with the efforts and how you have helped in decimating all the criminal elements that are holding us to ransom in the Northeast and the Northwest. However, recently, we have noticed a very disturbing trend, and I'm sure the Air Force knows about that, which is the use by all the criminal elements of weaponized drones to attack the communities in and around Nigeria, which means that these elements have upgraded their technology. And as someone that we have seen from your CV, having been Director of Air Operations in the Congo and also in the Nigerian theater, what would you do as Chief of Air Staff to combat this technological improvement by the criminal elements in our midst? Because we know that with them, this will only escalate if you do not decimate them immediately. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Ojo Okalo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting as chair. My name is Oji Okalo. I represent Abia North of Abia State. Mr. Nominee, my question could have gone between you and the nominee for a chief. I wanted both of you to explain to me.
You still have the opportunity in closed session.
It could have gone to both of them.
No, I said you have the opportunity in closed session.
Yes. So my question goes straight to you, but you can also answer with him. If confirmed you are going to be Chief of Air Staff, and he's going to be Chief of Naval Staff, I want to know the synergy you will bring, because in our water territories, you are not very active there, and the Navy, the air power of the Navy is also not very active there. What are both of you going to bring in to use the air power to mine our high seas where this oil is being stolen or stolen. Because it's only a cooperation between you, Navy, and even I think the Army also have air power. I don't know how effective it is. Because you cannot continue patrolling. This could have come to Chief of Naval Staff with boat. It's not going to cover the event. So Air Force should find a synergy with the Navy on how to monitor and man the Gulf of Guinea and also River Niger, River Benue, and all the rivers. Because people are smuggling even in the little rivers. They are carrying barges to go to Atlantic Ocean. So I want you to explain what pride it will bring in helping the Navy or the Navy helping you in using air power, because we don't need only boat now. You need to go by air power. Thank you, Mr. President. It's just a simple question.
Distinguished Senator Sitangu.
Thank you, Mr. President Ostangu. I represent Enugu West. Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity to speak about the nominee, who incidentally is from my senatorial zone. My question is more technical and tactical, so it will come in the closed session. But I would like to show gratitude. In my place, we say that ingratitude is second to witchcraft. Mr. President, I bring gratitude from Umuchi Nemerem in Umaga, where he comes from. Gratitude from Udi local government, where both of us come from. Gratitude from Enugu West. Gratitude from Enugu State and the Southeast in general. Mr. President, appointment of service chiefs in the past government from Southeast sometimes will look impossible. But today, under this government, we are having it back to back. The immediate past Chief of Naval Staff is from Enugu State. And I want to appreciate the President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for also finding our son who is worthy to be the nominee for Chief of Air Staff. We have never in the history of Nigeria had it this way. I want to thank the President for finding our son, the brilliance in AVM Aneke, whom we have seen from his CV and from when he spoke that he is going to bring value to the system. Mr. President, we, from where he comes from, have only gratitude to show to the President. We know our son is going to make us proud. We know he is going to deliver, and we will support him. And I plead that also all his colleagues and my colleagues here will lay their voice to ensure that he is confirmed. I thank you, and I rest my case.
Well, having heard the word of gratitude from his village, from his Umonna, and we can now go back to our work, which is asking questions. Distinguished Senator Nengi, I know he's not from Bauchi, so you are not going to thank the President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So please ask a question.
My name is Senator Nengi, and I am from Bauchi Center of Bauchi State, and the nominee happens to finish from my alma mater, both the ABU and University of Abuja. You're welcome. Mr. Nominee, listen to this. Since Buhari's assumed office in 2015, the Nigerian military has taken delivery of 32 brand new aircrafts. With the latest, and that is the key question.
You mean the latest? Buhari, by Buhari? You are not
since Buhari assumed office.
Not Senator Buhari.
In 20, not this one. Since President Buhari
So you are talking about
assumed office in 2015.
Our late icon, late President Buhari, not Senator Buhari.
Not this one. Since late President Buhari assumed office in 2015, the Nigerian military has taken delivery of a total of 32 brand new aircrafts, with the latest being 6 Super Tucanos at the cost of $1.2 billion US. Air Vice Marshal, where are our Tucanos and where are they not running? That is the question.
In other words, where are the aircraft? Where are the Tucanos? And why are they not performing? Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had earlier wanted not to speak, but I felt later that there's a need for me to commend Mr. President for what he has done in bringing forward the best out of the best of our military to serve as service chiefs. This is what a good leader should do, and he's doing right that. And to me, I feel it's in line with his zeal to bring total security to our nation. And I believe he has done this to strengthen our military. And I'm sure by the nomination of these fine military officers, the military of this country will be better than before. Listening to them, I'm highly convinced. I said this for all of them. And in particular, I want to thank Mr. President for nominating someone from Kano State, the political capital of the entire northern Nigeria. He has done that before. The former Chief of Naval Staff, Chief of Air Staff is from Kano, and now Chief of Naval Staff from Kano. We thank him very much. It is a message from the Kano people, and I decided that I should, put forward this message to the President, to the Senate. The people of Kano are really grateful to Mr. President for identifying one of the, even though he's one of the best in the Nigerian military. And we urge all of you, all the nominees, to be loyal to the CNC and loyal to our Constitution. This is the underpinning of military service: loyalty, 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 and loyalty. And we are sure with you the zeal of Mr. President to bring total security to this country will be accomplished. We have no doubt that you will do that. So we thank Mr. President, and we wish you good luck throughout your tenure and even beyond. I will ask the questions which are to do with the tactics you are using, or the military is using, when we go to in the closure session. My questions will come in the closure session. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, the next set of questions will be tactical questions, specific questions on issues of communities that are ravaged by banditry, terrorism, or Boko Haram. And that, security is something we should discuss behind closed doors so that we will not be misquoted. And therefore, I will allow the nominee for the Office of Chief of Air Staff to answer the open ones, because Nigerians would like to have answers. So please proceed.
Excellency, sir. On a lighter note, from the region of the country I come from, we have a tendency to answer
questions with proverbs. I'll start by saying my former boss, when I was in NTA, he used to have a proverb he tells us all the time. The world is changing at a very rapid rate, and those that will survive will not be the strongest, the fittest, or the boldest. Those that will survive are those who have the capacity and ability to adapt, I use the word adapt, to the rapid changing scenarios that play themselves. I have a joke I tell my friends. The enemy you are fighting went to school. He's as smart as you. Your greatest mistake is to look at the clothes they are wearing and assume they are ragtag people. My intention,
well guided.
My intention is to fight professionally, aggressively, and offensively, because the enemy can only walk to harm you when he is calm. A man running will not have the time to plan to hurt you. So, as the chief of the air staff, if confirmed, sir, my duties are very clear, direct, and they are, and simple. They are to secure the lives of Nigerians, their liberties and aspirations through the instrument of air power in conjunction and synergy with both my colleagues in the military and the other security organizations. This is not merely a professional mandate, but a sacred trust between the Nigerian Air Force and the people we serve. Every decision I make, coming to the question of working with the Navy, any decision I make, every policy I craft, and every mission I authorize will be guided by this singular purpose, which is to safeguard our nation and preserve peace and stability.
Sorry, we are not interrupting you.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Lado and Senator Ladon, please, can you step outside and continue with the meeting? No problem. Go and have security meeting outside. Chief, sorry for a brief interruption.
All right.
Continue.
Like I said, it's not just a professional mandate. It's a bond between the Nigerian Air Force and the great people of Nigeria, which we are here to serve. Coming to the question that was asked, the Air Force, like I said in my CV, one of the early units I flew in was the maritime group in Benin. And some of the challenges being expressed here were the challenges I saw while I was there. But in those days, we didn't have drones and UAVs. So I intend to liaise and synergize with the Navy. Thank God I have a very good working relationship from academy up to this level with the Chief of Naval Staff. And we will try to encourage our subordinates to walk along the same line. If confirmed, I will dedicate myself to building a combat-ready Air Force, one that is operationally versatile, disciplined, and lethal. I use the word lethal, and I use it in a professional sense. Like I said, the man running from you will not have the time to sit down and plan. We intend to keep them busy, sir. My goal is to ensure that the Air Force responds swiftly, strike decisively, and adapt intelligence across the full spectrum of military operations. This will be achieved through rigorous training, professionalism, sound doctrine, robust logistics, and a strong culture, safety culture, and the advancement of research, innovation, air-mindedness across all ranks. And I want to insist on the usage of leveraging technology. And you will see more of unmanned aerial vehicles and drones. Like I said earlier, sir, we intend to fight smartly. When you find yourself in the battle, it's not the strength you have that matters. It is the brain you have that solves the problem. Coming to the questions asked by the very distinguished senators, Senator Abaribe, Senator Uzokalu, Senator Osita the Minority Leader, Senator Nengi, and the distinguished Deputy Senate President. First, I'll answer them in no particular order. Sir, aviation is a very expensive business. You might hear the word 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion in the aviation environment is like a spoon fetching out of the ocean. So you might, if you do the calculation of what it takes to train one pilot, you understand the cost, both in dollars and naira. Some of these weapons we fire are one missile. Some of the cheapest are as cheap as $100,000. And you fire these things every day. So it is not a business for the chicken-minded when it comes to finance. And so please, I solicit your cooperation to use the money intelligently and squeeze the last dollar of the value of what you give us. It doesn't cut across the Air Force alone. It also is the same thing with the Navy and the same thing with the Army. The armed forces is that part of government which you must spend money and hope not to use. If you do not have it, you are a chicken waiting for the hawk to be carried. If you have it, no matter who the person is, you can look the person in the face and take them out. I have served in countries like the United States, and I want to assure you, sir, a Nigerian is a proud person anywhere. Our standards are high. I've flown with Americans, I've flown with people from everywhere, and they respect us. All we need is support. Now, sir, for the Super Tucanos, sir, the Super Tucanos are doing what they've been paid to do. We have young men and women sacrificing their life while people are sleeping. Most of the operation they do, we are giving you value, sir, for your money, because the equipment in those Super Tucanos are extremely expensive. They are located mostly in the northeast and mostly in the northwest. And every night, these same thousands of dollars of weapons are being fired. Those are the armed forces, especially the Air Force. We cannot come out and show everything we do. But I assure you, sir, those airplanes are flying. You can cross-check, sir. They are flying. It's just the kind of war we are fighting. It is not face me, I face you. So we have to synergize with our brothers in the Army and the Navy. But I assure you, sir, those weapons, you can cross-check me, sir. Because even as far back as yesterday night, I have one of the junior officers that is somebody I'm mentoring. And they are fighting. They are not grounded. They are not grounded, sir. We will, like I said, sir, we'll do more of fighting smartly. Because some of the things, some of these Super Tucanos can do, those drones can do them with less danger to your personnel. So, sir, I can go on and on and on. And I hope I have, by chance, answered most of the questions that the distinguished senators have asked. But I will conclude by saying, sir, we are here to serve. And we are here with my colleagues to give you the best. We are here to squeeze every dollar, naira you spent on us to ensure we give you value for what you have paid for. Once again, thank you, sir.
Well, distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that the proposed Chief of Air Staff takes a bow and waits for the executive session? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Chief, just before the The point of order in terms of time? Okay.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, very distinguished colleagues, I rise pursuant to Order 8.3 of our rules to move for an extension of time for the Senate to sit beyond 3 p.m. to enable us to finish the proceedings for the day. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do extend its time to sit beyond 3 p.m. to continue our procedure. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this hallowed chamber extends its sitting today beyond 3 p.m. to enable us to conclude our screening and confirmation of the service chiefs. Those in support of the motion and move say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me now invite the proposed Chief of Air Staff to come forward. If we are to go by what the last speaker educated us on, I have a few takeaways. Number one, that action is taking place on a daily basis, that the armed forces are not sleeping, that Nigerians should be reassured that the evil they see today, they will soon see them no more. We have to go by what he also pointed out. He said that from where he comes from, he can answer some of the questions with proverbs. And one of which is that do not assume that the person you are fighting did not go to school. Don't assume that a person is not educated. Don't assume that a person does not know your tricks. It is not your strength, but your brain that will take you out of dangerous situations. You agree with him? Thank you for the summary. No more speeches, but I would like, because of his presence here, I want to recognize the Chief of Defense Intelligence to just step forward, take a bow, and go back to his seat before we move into closed session. Major General. Need to say more, but when I greeted him, I said, "Great Malabite." Then he answered, "Action." So he believes in action. He doesn't believe in talking. So thank you for joining us in this session. Senate Leader.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I rise at this time to move that the Senate do now go into an executive session to enable us hold.
You're watching live the confirmation screening of the Chief of Defense Staff and the 3 nominees for the position of service chiefs. And the exercise will now proceed in an executive session. That is a closed session because of the sensitive nature of security. NTA will continue transmission of further programs in our studios. We thank you for staying with us. I'm Lami Ali.